"That necklace is Mommy's," the millionaire's daughter said, and the chandelier light caught the teardrop pendant at the cleaner's throat, and for a moment the entire gala hall forgot how to breathe. Julian Aldridge, the man whose name sat on half the city's skyline, turned slowly. His eyes weren't angry first. They were confused. Then something darker took over, like a memory trying to claw its way out of him. Because that necklace wasn't supposed to exist outside the safe, and because the cleaner Lena Hart didn't flinch the way a guilty person flinched, she didn't rush to hide it, she didn't beg, she didn't even deny it fast. She only said quietly, "I didn't take it. I brought it home." And right then, two questions snapped open in the minds of everyone watching. How could a cleaner bring home a necklace that belonged to a dead woman? And why did Julian Aldridge look like he'd just been stabbed by a ghost? The gala had been built like a shrine to Julian's late wife, Mara, white flowers, soft memorial photos, a speech about love and loss, a man performing grief in front of donors who applauded his suffering like it was a talent. But now the performance cracked. Amelia Aldridge, 8 years old, raised in marble hallways and private tutors, stared at the necklace as if it had just spoken her mother's name out loud. She wasn't a child who invented drama. She was a child who remembered details. "That's Mommy's," Amelia insisted again. "I saw Daddy hold it when he cried." Vivian Aldridge, Julian's sister-in-law, and the true nerve center of the household, made a sound that was half gasp and half victory. Her lips tightened into something sharp. Her eyes never left Lena's throat. "Security," Vivian said sweetly loud. "Lock the doors." Murmurs began to ripple. Guests turned toward Lena with fascinated horror, as if she'd walked in wearing a confession. Lena's hands were trembling, but not with fear, not with shame, with something older, a restrained fury that had been waiting for years to finally have a name. Julian stepped closer. His face was pale, but the control in his voice was absolute. "Show me," he said. Lena lifted her chin. Slowly, she slid the pendant free from the collar of her plain black uniform. The chain lay against her skin like a line drawn by fate. Vivian's voice rose, laced with sympathy for the crowd, like she was a woman heartbroken all over again. "My poor Julian," she said, "even on the night we honor Mara's memory, someone dares to steal from her." Lena looked up straight at Julian. "It isn't theft," she said. "It's proof." That one word made Vivian's posture change. Proof wasn't a word poor people used unless they had something that could hurt the powerful. Julian's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" Lena's voice went quieter, but it carried. "Your wife didn't die the way you think," Lena said. "And your daughter isn't your only child." Silence spread like ink in water. Amelia's mouth opened slightly. "Not my only." Julian's jaw flexed. Vivian laughed once, a brittle sound that didn't reach her eyes. "She's insane," Vivian said. "Grief makes people vulnerable. This is what predators do." Lena turned her eyes to Vivian, and in that glance there was history, something unsaid but thick, like smoke in a room where a fire once burned. Julian motioned sharply. "My study, now." Security moved, not toward Lena like she was a criminal, but around her like she was a bomb that needed to be contained. As Lena walked, every step felt like walking back into the past she'd spent years outrunning. The mansion's hallways were long and gleaming, but beneath the polish they felt like corridors built to trap truth. In Julian's study, the door shut, the gala noise muffled. The world shrank to 4 people: Julian, Vivian, Amelia, and Lena. Julian stood behind his desk like a man trying to keep himself from breaking. Vivian hovered by the door, ready to pounce on any weakness. Amelia clung to the side of a chair, eyes shiny with fear and curiosity. Julian spoke first, voice low. "You have exactly 1 chance to explain why you're wearing my wife's necklace." Lena's fingers closed around the pendant. She took a breath. "I didn't steal it," she said. "Mara gave it to me." Vivian's laugh snapped out. "Oh, please." Julian's eyes didn't move from Lena. "You knew Mara," Lena swallowed. "I was there when she gave birth." Julian blinked like he hadn't heard correctly. "What?" Lena's throat tightened. "Brookhaven General, 16 years ago. I was a nurse aide. I helped with intake. I brought supplies. I heard everything." Vivian's face lost a hint of color. barely noticeable unless you were looking for it. Julian's voice turned sharp. My wife gave birth to Amelia 8 years ago. She didn't. Lena cut in. Not Amelia. Amelia's head jerked up. What do you mean? Lena looked at Amelia and felt her heart twist. This child didn't deserve to be inside a war created before she could speak. Mara gave birth to twins, Lena said. Amelia's breath hitched. Julian's eyes widened, then narrowed, like his mind was trying to reject the word before it could poison his reality. Vivian snapped. Enough. But Lena kept going, because once truth begins, it demands to be finished. Mara begged, Lena said. She cried. She fought. She didn't want them separated. Julian's hands gripped the edge of his desk. Separated by who? Lena's eyes slid to Vivian, and Vivian's smile thinned into a warning. Lena's voice shook now, not from fear, but from the weight of holding this alone for too long. By your family, Lena said. By her. Vivian's face turned hard. You're accusing me of kidnapping. Julian's jaw clenched. Vivian. Vivian's voice rose, defensive and furious. Julian, this is a con. Look at her. She's a cleaner. She wants money. She wants a story. Lena reached to the pendant, and her thumb found the tiny seam. There's something inside, Lena said. Julian's eyes flicked to the necklace, suspicion battling desperation. Lena pressed. The pendant clicked. Vivian's breath caught, quick and sharp. Lena opened the teardrop. A folded strip of paper rested inside like a last heartbeat preserved. She unfolded it carefully and laid it on the desk. Julian leaned forward. His eyes scanned the handwriting, and his face changed. Because it wasn't a stranger's writing, it was Mara's. If you're reading this, they lied to you. They will take one of my babies. Find the other. Trust Lena. Julian's throat worked like he was trying to swallow a scream. His fingers hovered over the note as if touching it might make it vanish. Amelia whispered. Mommy wrote that. Vivian stepped forward sharply. That could be fake. Julian's eyes snapped to Vivian. How would she fake my wife's handwriting? Vivian's mouth opened, then closed. For the first time, she didn't have a perfect answer. Lena's voice turned quieter. You want more proof? She reached into her pocket. Her hand trembled slightly as she placed a small cassette tape on the desk. Vivian's eyes widened. Panic flashed, just for a moment. Julian stared. What is that? A hospital recording, Lena said. From the night Mara gave birth, it was sealed in the records. Julian's face tightened. How did you get this? Lena hesitated. Someone who still has a conscience. Vivian's voice snapped like a whip. This is illegal. This is... Julian raised a hand. Be quiet. He opened a cabinet and pulled out an old tape recorder, dusty and forgotten, like an artifact of a life he never questioned. He slid the tape in. Pressed play. The room filled with hiss, then a doctor's voice. Dictation, Dr. Harlan. Obstetrics. Patient Mara Aldridge delivered twins at 3:12 a.m. Julian's breath caught. Amelia's eyes widened. Then muffled voices. A woman sobbing Mara, and another woman sharp and cold Vivian. No one will ever know. Vivian's recorded voice said, We keep one. The other disappears. Julian will be grateful once he understands. Julian's face went white. Mara's voice cracked through the tape. They're my babies. Vivian's voice, chillingly calm. Then act like an Aldridge. Choose the one that matters. Julian stumbled back as if struck. Amelia covered her mouth with both hands, tears spilling. The tape clicked to an end. The silence afterward was louder than the recording. Julian stared at Vivian like he was seeing her for the first time. You did this, he whispered. It wasn't a question. It was a realization that rearranged the past. Vivian's face twisted. I protected you, she hissed. I protected this family. You stole my child, Julian said, voice shaking. Vivian's eyes flashed. Mara was unstable. She would have ruined everything. Julian slammed his fist on the desk. Enough. Amelia sobbed quietly, shaking. Julian turned to Lena, eyes wild with pain. Where is the other child? Lena's heart slammed against her ribs. This was the moment she'd feared for years. The moment when the powerful realized what they'd lost and decided they had the right to take it back. She's alive, Lena said carefully. She's safe. Julian stepped forward. Where? Lena swallowed hard. With me. Amelia looked up, shocked. With you. Lena's voice broke. I raised her. Julian's face tightened with confusion and fury. You raised my daughter. Lena's tears fell. I saved her. They put her in my arms and told me to leave. They told me if I spoke, I'd disappear too. Vivian's gaze sharpened like a knife. You brought her back into this. Lena met Vivian's eyes. I brought myself, she said, because you were hunting the truth again. Julian turned to his security phone. No one leaves, he ordered, voice cold. Not Vivian. Not anyone. Vivian's lips curved into a smile that didn't belong to a cornered person. It belonged to someone who had planned exits in advance. You think you can stop me? Vivian whispered. Then she moved. She bolted for the door. Julian shouted. Security surged, but Vivian slipped out like smoke. Lena's pulse spiked. Amelia clutched Lena's sleeve instinctively, seeking safety from the only adult in the room who wasn't shouting. Julian ran after Vivian. And in that moment, Lena's phone vibrated. A text message from an unknown number. Check your daughter's school. Lena's blood turned to ice. Her daughter. Ivy, the child she'd raised. The missing twin. The living proof Vivian would kill to control. Lena grabbed Amelia's hand. We have to go, she said, voice shaking. Amelia cried, confused. My daddy. We'll come back, Lena promised, even though she didn't know how. A guard blocked them in the hallway, Mr. Aldridge said. My child is in danger, Lena snapped, voice raw. If you stop me, you'll be responsible. The guard hesitated, then stepped aside, eyes wide. Lena ran through the mansion's side corridor, pulling Amelia along. Outside, the gala lights glowed like a lie. As she rushed toward the gate, she saw it again, a black SUV parked near the service road, the same kind she'd seen at the hospital parking lot. The window rolled down slightly. A man in sunglasses lifted his phone, filming. Lena ducked behind a hedge, heart pounding. Whoever Vivian had called, they weren't just family, they were professionals. Lena shoved Amelia into her old car and drove fast, knuckles white. Amelia sat in the back, crying softly. Is my sister like me? Lena swallowed pain. She has your eyes, she whispered. Amelia's voice cracked. Will she hate me? No, Lena said, fighting tears. None of this is your fault. When Lena reached Ivy's school, police lights flashed. Parents stood outside, murmuring. A teacher looked shaken. Lena stumbled out of the car. Ivy. The teacher grabbed her arm. Are you Ivy Hart's mother? Yes, Lena gasped. Where is she? The teacher's face went pale. She was picked up, she said, by an authorized guardian. Lena's world tilted. I'm her only guardian. He had paperwork, the teacher whispered. A court order. Lena's blood ran cold. Name, she demanded. The teacher hesitated, then whispered. Vivian Aldridge. Lena's knees nearly buckled. Amelia stepped beside her, eyes wide with fear. She took her. Lena's throat burned. Vivian hadn't just run. Vivian had struck first. Lena called Julian. It rang once, twice. Then he answered, breathless and angry. Lena, where are you? She took Ivy. Lena whispered silence. Then Julian's voice turned to ice. Vivian has your child. She's yours, Lena whispered. She's your missing daughter. Julian's breath hitched. Where? The school, Lena said. She used a forged court order. Julian cursed softly. Come back to the mansion now. I'll mobilize resources. Lena's voice cracked. What if she hurts her? Julian's tone dropped. Grim. She won't yet. Ivy is leverage. Lena clenched her jaw. Tell me where Mara is, she whispered. Julian went silent. Lena pressed, voice raw. Because if Mara is alive, she's the only person Vivian fears. Julian's silence was the answer that opened a deeper nightmare. Mara might not be dead, and if she wasn't dead, where had she been for 16 years? Who had hidden her? And why? Julian finally spoke, strained. I don't know, but I have a locked drawer, a file, things I never looked at closely. Then look, Lena said. Because Vivian has Ivy. Julian's voice turned urgent. Come back, we'll do this together. 2 children tied by blood and stolen years. I'm coming, Lena said. And Julian, if you try to take Ivy from me after this, I'll fight you with everything I have. Julian's voice was quiet. I believe you. And as Lena drove back toward the mansion, she realized part of the truth had surfaced, but the part that mattered most where Ivy was, and what Vivian planned next, was still in the dark. And the dark was where Vivian did her best work, back at the mansion. The gala had been dismantled in a hurry, as if money could simply erase the scene of humiliation. Staff moved like ghosts, cleaning away evidence that anything had happened, but the tension in the walls remained. Julian met Lena at a side entrance. His tie was loosened, his sleeves rolled slightly, like he'd shed a layer of billionaire armor, but hadn't found the person underneath yet. He looked at Amelia first, relief flickering. Then his gaze snapped to Lena. "We're going to find Ivy," he said. No promises, no comforting lies. Only the one thing he could offer, action. Lena nodded, swallowing the panic clawing at her throat. "Vivian has help," she said. "I saw a black SUV at the hospital. Someone filmed me." Julian's face tightened. "A fixer," he muttered. "A what?" Lena asked. Julian's jaw clenched. "My father's old fixer. The man who cleaned up scandals. If Vivian called him, this isn't just family betrayal. It's the Aldridge machine." Lena's stomach twisted. Machines didn't feel guilt. Machines didn't stop because a child cried. Julian led them into his study. He opened the locked drawer Amelia had mentioned and pulled out photographs and letters. He laid them on the desk like he was laying out the bones of his own life. One photo stopped Lena's breath. Mara, exhausted but smiling, holding 2 newborns. Julian, younger, standing stiffly beside her like he didn't understand what he'd been handed. Julian stared at it, voice hoarse. "I never saw this." Lena's hand shook. "She tried to tell you." Julian's face hardened with a kind of shame that looked like anger. "I should have listened." Amelia climbed onto a chair and stared at the photo as if it might move. "2 babies, she whispered, eyes wide. "That means it was real." Lena looked at Amelia, heart aching. This child had lived her entire life believing her mother died and her father suffered nobly. Now she had to learn her family story had been edited by a woman who called herself Protector. Julian opened a letter in Mara's handwriting. His lips moved silently as he read. Then he spoke aloud, voice breaking. "If I disappear, it wasn't because I left you. It's because they made me." Lena's throat tightened. "She didn't run away," Lena said quietly. "She was taken, or trapped." Julian swallowed hard. "Vivian told me Mara was unstable after the birth, that she needed rest, privacy, that the media would destroy her." Lena's eyes sharpened. "And you believed that?" Julian's jaw clenched. "I wanted to believe it," he admitted. That honesty hurt more than denial, because it meant Julian's power had never protected the truth. It had protected his comfort. A guard entered quickly, handing Julian a tablet. "We found Vivian's car," the guard said, "abandoned near the highway, plates swapped. She disappeared." Julian's eyes narrowed. "Check the lake house," he said suddenly. Lena's stomach dropped. "Lake house?" Julian's face turned grim. "Vivian goes there when she wants privacy. No cameras, no neighbors, off-grid." Lena's heart slammed. "Then that's where Ivy is." Julian nodded once, decisive. "We go now." He looked down at Amelia. "You stay here." Amelia's face crumpled. "No," she whispered. "She's my sister." Julian hesitated, a fracture of tenderness in his hard expression. Lena stepped in. "She stays with me," Lena said. "We don't leave her behind." Julian swallowed, then nodded. "Fine, but you stay close." They left the mansion in Julian's black sedan, cutting through the wet night. Lena sat stiffly, mind racing while Amelia huddled in the back seat, hugging a pillow like it was armor. As the road turned darker and trees swallowed the streetlights, Amelia spoke softly. "Do you think my sister will look like me?" she asked. Lena's voice cracked. "She has your eyes." Amelia swallowed. "Will she take my daddy?" Lena's heart tightened. The fear behind that question was pure child logic. Love was a limited resource, and new people meant less for you. "No," Lena whispered. "Love grows. It doesn't split." Amelia stared out the window. "Aunt Vivian said Mommy left because she didn't want me." Lena's hands tightened. "She lied," Lena said. "Your mother fought for you." Amelia's voice trembled. "Why didn't Daddy fight?" Lena looked forward, jaw clenched. Because that question didn't have a simple answer. Because adult failures never fit into a child's need for fairness. Julian's hands tightened on the wheel. His voice came out rough. "I thought I was protecting you," he said quietly, as if to himself, "but I was protecting a lie." The lake house appeared like a shadow on the edge of black water. Lights were on. Julian parked and moved fast. All billionaire confidence replaced by a father's panic. The door was unlocked. Inside, the air was cold. Silence thick. Then a small sound drifted from upstairs. A cough. Lena's heart slammed. "Ivy," she breathed. They rushed up. A bedroom door was half open. Julian pushed it. Ivy lay on a bed, wrists tied loosely with a scarf. Her cheeks were streaked with tears, her eyes red. When she saw Lena, she made a sound that broke Lena's chest open. "Mom," Ivy sobbed. Lena ran, untied her, pulled her close. "I'm here," she whispered, shaking. "I'm here." Behind Lena, Amelia stepped into the doorway. Ivy looked up and froze. Two girls stared at each other, like the universe had split and glued itself back together in one room. Amelia's voice shook. "Hi," Ivy whispered, confused. "Who are you?" Amelia swallowed hard. "I think I'm your sister." Ivy's face twisted with shock, fear, wonder. Her small hands clutched Lena's shirt. Julian stood in the doorway, trembling. His eyes locked on Ivy, like he was seeing something holy and horrifying at the same time. And then, from the shadows near the closet, a slow clap echoed. Vivian stepped forward. She held a small handgun, not pointed at Julian first, but at Ivy. "Well," Vivian said, smiling, "what a beautiful reunion." Lena's blood turned to ice. She held Ivy tighter, trying to make her body a shield. Julian's voice turned deadly. "Put it down." Vivian laughed. "Julian, you never learned. You can't order your way out of consequences." Julian took a careful step. Vivian's gun shifted. "One more move," Vivian warned, "and you'll lose her again." The word again stabbed Julian. He froze. Vivian's eyes flicked to Amelia, then to Lena. "You always were sentimental, Lena," she said. "That's why you were useful." Lena's voice shook. "She's a child." Vivian shrugged. "Children are assets, or liabilities." Amelia started to cry silently. Ivy trembled. Julian's hands clenched. "Where is Mara?" he demanded, voice cracking. "What did you do to her?" Vivian's smile widened. "She did it to herself," Vivian said. "She refused the rules." Lena's heart pounded. "Rules," she spat. "That mothers don't get to keep their babies." Vivian's eyes flashed with anger. Mara was weak. She was emotional. She would have embarrassed us all. Julian's voice rose, shaking. "She was my wife." Vivian's expression hardened into something uglier. "And you were mine to manage," she hissed. "I built your image. I cleaned your messes. I saved you from your father's wrath. I saved you from the press. I saved you from yourself. Mara was a loose thread." Julian stared, disgusted and wounded. "You're sick." Vivian tilted her head. "I'm practical." Then Vivian spoke like a businesswoman. "Here's the deal." Lena disappears. Lena signs over custody of Ivy. Lena gives me the necklace, the note, the tape, everything. Then you can go back to your perfect grief story. Julian. Amelia stays the only child. The donors stay happy. The family stays clean. Lena's grip tightened on Ivy. "And if I don't," Vivian's smile sharpened, "then Ivy becomes your punishment, and Amelia becomes your reminder." Amelia sobbed. "Aunt Vivian, please." Vivian's eyes snapped to Amelia. "Be quiet." Julian's face twisted with rage and helplessness. For the first time, he looked like a man who realized money couldn't buy back time. Lena's mind raced. She scanned the room, desperate for anything. A lamp, a glass carafe, a heavy object, a way to move without a bullet meeting Ivy's body. Then, Ivy, trembling, whispered to Vivian, "You're the one who took me from school." Vivian's eyes flicked down, annoyed. "Yes." Ivy's voice shook, but stayed steady. "You're the one who told people my mom was trash." Vivian's lips tightened. "And," Ivy swallowed, tears spilling. "My mom cries when she thinks I'm asleep, but she still makes my lunch. She still holds me when I'm scared." Lena's throat tightened. Ivy looked at Vivian and whispered, "Do you ever cry?" Vivian's eyes flashed with anger, as if the child's question was an insult. "Shut up." Ivy's voice broke. It must be lonely being a monster. Vivian's face contorted. She lifted the gun slightly, fury overtaking control. In that fraction of a second, Vivian's focus shifted from strategy to emotion, and Lena moved. Lena shoved Ivy down hard, whispering, "Duck." Lena lunged for the brass lamp on the side table. Vivian fired. The bullet hit the wall. Julian surged forward. Lena swung the lamp with everything she had. It struck Vivian's wrist. The gun clattered. Julian tackled Vivian. They hit the ground. Vivian scratched and hissed like an animal cornered. "You ungrateful boy," Vivian spat. "I made you." Julian pinned her, shaking with rage. "You ruined my wife. You stole my child." Vivian laughed, blood on her lip. "And you let me," she whispered. Those words hit Julian harder than any punch. Sirens approached, because Julian had triggered a silent alert before they entered. Guards stormed in. Police followed. Vivian thrashed, but cuffs clicked shut. As she was dragged out, Vivian turned her head toward Lena, eyes burning with hate. "You think you won," Vivian hissed. "But Mara is still gone, and you'll never find her." Julian jerked up. "What did you say?" Vivian smiled cruel. "Gone," she repeated. "And that's on you." Then she was gone, swallowed by officers and flashing lights. Lena trembled, pulling Ivy into her arms. Amelia crawled onto the bed beside Ivy, crying. The twins stared at each other, overwhelmed, as if they were trying to recognize a part of themselves they'd always felt missing. Julian stood in the doorway, soaked, shaking, broken. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Lena's eyes burned. "Sorry doesn't give her back," she said, meaning Mara. Meaning the years, meaning the safety Ivy almost lost. Julian swallowed. "No," he admitted, "but justice can." Lena looked down at the girls. Ivy clung to her like she was afraid she'd vanish. Amelia reached out and touched Ivy's hand cautiously, like she was afraid of being rejected. Lena realized something then. This wasn't just about what Vivian did. It was about what Julian allowed, what the city believed, what money hid. And even with Vivian arrested, the machine Vivian used might still be alive, because Vivian didn't do this alone, and someone out there still wanted the truth buried. The next day, headlines exploded. Vivian Aldridge, arrested. Charity gala scandal, missing child, forged court order. The Aldridge name dragged through a public mud it hadn't tasted in decades. Julian's board demanded a statement. He gave them a brief one, then stepped down temporarily, citing family emergency. Behind closed doors, he hired attorneys for Lena, not against her. He filed an emergency protective order for Ivy and Amelia, and he reopened Mara's case officially as a missing person, not a death. But nothing moved fast enough for Lena, because once you've watched someone point a gun at your child, patience feels like betrayal. At home, Ivy sat at Lena's kitchen table, staring at Amelia across a plate of untouched food. The girls were quiet, absorbing a new reality too big for their small bodies. Ivy whispered finally. "So, she's my sister." Amelia's voice trembled. "I didn't know." Ivy looked at Lena. "So you didn't steal me?" Lena's chest cracked. "No," Lena whispered. "I saved you." Ivy's eyes filled with tears. "Then why do I feel like everyone's lying?" Lena sat beside her. "Because they did," Lena said softly. "For a long time." Amelia whispered. "Did Mommy love me?" Lena swallowed pain. "More than anything." Ivy's voice was small. "Did she love me too?" Lena nodded, tears spilling. "Yes." Ivy's face crumpled. "Then where is she?" That was the question that haunted every room now. Julian came to Lena's apartment that night, looking out of place in the small space, like a king stepping into the life his power usually ignored. He sat on the worn couch and stared at his hands. "I think Vivian kept Mara hidden," he said quietly. Lena's eyes narrowed. "Where?" Julian swallowed. "I don't know, but Vivian's words at the lake house, the way she said gone. It wasn't certain. It was a threat." Lena's voice hardened. "Then we find her." Julian nodded once. "We will." Then Julian did something that surprised Lena. He pulled out a folder and slid it across the coffee table. Lena stared. Custody papers. Her stomach tightened. "So, this is it," she whispered. "You take her." Julian's eyes snapped up, pained. "No," he said. Joint guardianship, legal protection. Vivian's allies might come after Ivy again. I want her protected by my name, not owned by it. Lena stared, suspicious. Julian's name had always sounded like danger to her, not safety. Julian's voice softened. You raised her. You loved her. You kept her alive. I'm not here to steal her. I'm here to stop my family from doing it again. Lena swallowed hard. And what about Amelia? Julian's eyes flicked to the hallway, where Amelia and Ivy were whispering in Ivy's room, hesitant but drawn together. I don't know how to be a father to two girls. I've never met in the same life, Julian admitted, but I'm going to try. Lena looked at him and saw something she hadn't expected to see in a billionaire. Fear, not of poverty, not of scandal. Fear of being unworthy. A knock at the door interrupted them. Pattern of panic. Lena's heart jumped. Julian's security guard entered with a sealed envelope. Sir, the guard said. It arrived at the office. No return address. Julian opened it. His face went pale. Inside was an old photograph. A woman standing in a small garden, thinner, older, eyes haunted. Mara around her neck, a faint scar. In her hand, a teardrop pendant missing its centerpiece. A note attached in shaky handwriting. I'm alive. I've been waiting for the girls to be safe. Vivian can't silence me anymore. Meet me where the river bends behind St. Bridget's Church. Tomorrow at dusk. Come alone. But bring the necklace. Lena's hands flew to her mouth. Julian's breath shook. Mara, he whispered. Ivy stepped into the room, drawn by the tension. Amelia followed, clutching Ivy's hand like she was afraid to be separated again. Amelia looked at the photograph and froze. That's Mommy, Ivy's voice trembled. That's my mommy too. Lena's heart pounded. This was what she'd wanted, the missing piece. But it also felt like a trap, because Vivian might be in custody, but Vivian's machine could still move. And the note said two words that made Lena's skin go cold. Come alone. Alone meant vulnerable. Alone meant easy to disappear. Julian's jaw clenched. I'm going, he said. Lena grabbed his arm. No, she snapped. If it's a trap, you'll walk into it. If it's real, you'll scare her. She asked for the necklace. Julian stared. Then who goes? Lena's eyes hardened. Me, she said. She trusted me first. Julian's voice rose. You can't go alone. Lena looked him in the eye. I've been alone in this for 16 years, she said. I can do one more night. Julian's face tightened, but he didn't argue, because somewhere inside him he knew the truth. Mara's last note had said trust Lena, and for the first time in his life, Julian Aldridge had to accept that the woman he dismissed as invisible might be the only one who could bring his family back together. But Lena couldn't shake the dread that this meeting would not be gentle, because the deeper secret wasn't just where Mara had been. It was why Mara stayed away, and what it would cost to bring her back. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table with the necklace in her hand, turning it over like a small planet containing gravity she couldn't fight. Ivy came out quietly, rubbing her eyes. Mom, Ivy whispered. Are you going somewhere? Lena's throat tightened. Maybe, she said softly. Ivy's eyes widened. Don't leave me. Lena pulled her close. I'm not leaving, she whispered. I'm finding something we lost. Ivy clung to her. If I have another mom, Ivy whispered, can I still keep you? Lena's chest shattered in the most tender way. Always, she whispered. You will always have me. In Ivy's doorway, Amelia watched, silent tears on her cheeks. Lena reached out and pulled Amelia in too. And for the first time, the twins were in the same embrace, held by the woman who had been forced to choose but had refused to stop loving. Lena whispered, tomorrow changes everything. And in the darkness, she feared that was true in more than one way. The next evening, Lena stood behind St. Bridget's Church with the necklace clenched in her palm. So tightly the pendant left an imprint in her skin. The river behind the church moved slowly, dark and reflective, like it was carrying secrets away. Wind tugged at Lena's hair. The sky was bruised with dusk, and every sound felt too loud. Distant traffic, rustling leaves, her own breath. She came alone, like the note asked. But she wasn't unprepared. Julian had wanted to follow in secret. Lena refused. Not because she trusted the meeting, but because she knew Mara. If Mara was alive, she had survived something. Survived meant cautious. Survived meant afraid of being controlled again. If Mara saw Julian or security, she might run and never return. So Lena stood alone, waiting with her heart pounding like it was trying to escape. Minutes passed, then footsteps on gravel. Lena's body stiffened. A shadow emerged from the path, moving slowly, careful, like the person was testing whether the world was safe. Then she stepped into the fading light. Mara. She was older than in the mansion portrait, thinner, her cheekbones sharper, her eyes deeper with pain. Her dark hair was pulled back simply. She wore a plain coat, no jewelry except a small chain with nothing on it. But what hit Lena hardest wasn't Mara's appearance. It was Mara's gaze. It was the gaze of a mother who had spent years refusing to die because dying would mean abandoning her babies. Mara's eyes met Lena's, and for a moment neither woman spoke. Then Mara's voice came out like a whisper scraping against old wounds. "You kept her alive," Mara said. Lena's throat broke. "I did," she whispered. "I'm sorry." Mara shook her head quickly, tears spilling. "No," she whispered. "Don't say sorry. Thank you." Lena's hand shook as she held out the necklace. Mara stared at it, like it was a heartbeat from the past. Her fingers trembled as she touched the pendant. Then Lena saw it clearly. Mara's hands carried the faint stiffness of someone who had been medicated, restrained, controlled. The kind of control that didn't leave bruises on the skin but left scars on the soul. Mara swallowed. "Is Vivian in custody? She can't hurt them." Mara's knees almost buckled. She pressed a hand to her mouth, trying to contain the sob that rose. Then Mara looked up, eyes burning with desperate need. "Are they together?" she whispered. "Both of them." Lena nodded through tears. "They're together," she said. "They know." Mara's breath shook. "Do they hate me?" Lena stepped closer. "They don't know enough yet," she said softly, "but they miss you, even without knowing your name." Mara's face crumpled. "I didn't leave," she whispered, voice breaking. "I didn't leave my babies." Lena's voice shook. "Tell me," Lena pleaded. "Where were you?" Mara looked toward the river, as if the water might absorb the story without judging her. "Vivian didn't just take one baby," Mara said quietly. "She took my voice." Mara inhaled sharply. "After I gave birth, I hemorrhaged," she said. "I was weak. I was terrified. Vivian came in like she owned the room. She told me Julian wouldn't handle twins. She told me the family image required simplicity." Lena's jaw clenched. "And Julian?" Mara's eyes filled with bitterness. "Julian wasn't in the room when it mattered," she whispered. "He was outside, signing papers his father put in front of him. He thought he was being a man. He was being managed." Mara's voice turned small. "I fought," she whispered. "I begged, I screamed. They told me I was hysterical. They sedated me." Lena's stomach turned. "They drugged you." Mara nodded, tears falling. "When I woke up," she whispered, "they told me one baby died." Lena's breath caught. "They told you Ivy died." Mara's face contorted. "I felt it in my bones. It wasn't true," she whispered. "But they showed me paperwork. They showed me a tiny bracelet. They showed me a funeral receipt." Mara's voice dropped. Then Vivian leaned close and said if I ever spoke publicly, Julian would lose everything. Amelia would be taken, and I would be declared unfit and locked away permanently. Lena's fists clenched. "So what happened?" Mara's eyes went distant. "They moved me," she said. "Not to a hospital wing, to a private facility." Lena's blood ran cold. "A psychiatric facility." Mara nodded slowly. "A place where wealthy families hide inconvenient women," she whispered. "Where they call grief delusion and truth paranoia." Lena's throat tightened. "How did you get out?" Mara swallowed. "I didn't," she whispered. "Not at first. I lived there like a ghost for years. They medicated me. They told me I imagined a second child. They told me I imagined Vivian's threat. They told me I was lucky Julian still paid for my care." Lena's eyes burned with rage. "Julian thought you were dead." Mara nodded, bitter. "Vivian killed me on paper," Mara said. "She sent Julian a sealed death report. Told him I had taken my own life. Told him it was shameful and the press would destroy him, so the funeral would be private." Lena's stomach twisted, and he believed it. Mara's tears spilled. "He wanted to," Mara whispered. "Belief was easier than investigation." Lena exhaled shackily. "So how are you here now?" Mara looked down at her hands. A nurse, she whispered. A young nurse with a daughter. She saw me crying. She listened. She believed me. She helped me taper off the drugs. She helped me escape. Lena's breath caught. You ran. Mara nodded. I ran, she whispered. But I didn't run away from my babies. I ran towards survival. I promised myself I would come back when I could protect them. Mara looked up, eyes fierce. Vivian had eyes everywhere, she whispered. If I surfaced too soon, she would have destroyed me again. She would have taken Amelia and raised her to hate me, and she would have erased the second child forever. Lena's voice shook. So you waited? Mara nodded, ashamed. Every day, she whispered. Every day I hated myself, but I waited. I watched the news. I watched Julian's interviews. I watched Amelia grow through photographs like a starving woman watching food behind glass. Mara's voice broke. I didn't know where the second baby was, she whispered. I prayed she was alive. I prayed someone kind had her. Lena swallowed hard. I did, she said. I had her. Mara's eyes widened. You raised her, she whispered. Lena nodded. Her name is Ivy, Lena said softly. She's brave. She's kind. She's stubborn. She has your fire. Mara's sob escaped. Ivy, she whispered, tasting the name like it was a miracle. Then Mara's expression tightened with fear again. Vivian, she whispered. Even in custody, she has allies. The fixer, your hospital contact. Anyone who helped you could be in danger. Lena's blood turned cold. Nurse Calder, Lena whispered. She helped me get the tape. Mara's eyes widened. We need to warn her, she said urgently. Lena's phone buzzed in her pocket like a living threat. A message from an unknown number. You shouldn't have met her. Lena's heart slammed. Mara saw Lena's face change. What? Mara whispered. Lena showed her the message. Mara's eyes filled with dread. They're watching, she whispered. Vivian's machine is still moving. Lena's breath shook. Then we go to Julian now. Mara flinched. Julian. Lena stepped closer. He needs to see you, Lena said. And you need to see your daughters. Mara's eyes filled with tears and fear. I'm afraid, she whispered. What if Amelia hates me? What if Ivy looks at me and doesn't feel anything? What if Julian? Lena's voice hardened. If Julian tries to control you, I'll destroy him, she said. But I don't think he will. He's already lost too much. Mara's breath trembled. I don't want to be locked away again. Lena gripped her hands. You won't be alone, she whispered. Not anymore. They moved quickly back to Lena's car. As Lena drove, her mind raced. Someone had watched the meeting. Someone knew Mara had surfaced. That meant the next move would come fast, and it wouldn't be gentle. When Lena arrived at the safe house Julian had arranged, security was tight but discreet. Julian opened the door himself, eyes bloodshot, face drawn. He froze when he saw Mara. For a moment the billionaire disappeared, and a man stood there with his heart in his throat. Mara, he whispered. Mara's eyes filled with tears. Julian, she whispered back. Julian stepped forward, then stopped, like he didn't trust his own right to touch her. I thought you were gone, he said, voice cracking. Mara's jaw trembled. You thought, she whispered, because you listened to Vivian. Julian flinched like he deserved the slap. I should have searched, he whispered. I should have. Mara lifted a hand. Not yet, she said softly. Not apologies yet. Lena stepped aside because what mattered now wasn't the marriage. It was the children. Julian turned. Girls, he called, voice shaking. Amelia appeared first, rushing from the hallway. Ivy followed more slowly, wary. Amelia stopped dead when she saw Mara, then burst into tears. Mommy, she sobbed, and ran into Mara's arms like her body had been waiting for years. Mara fell to her knees to catch her, sobbing into her hair. My baby, Mara whispered. My Amelia. Ivy stood frozen, staring. Mara lifted her head slowly and looked at Ivy. Her eyes carried fear, hope, and a mother's hunger all at once. Ivy, Mara whispered. Ivy swallowed hard. That's my name, she said, voice small. Mara nodded through tears. I chose it in my head, she whispered. When I didn't know where you were, I chose a name that meant you would grow anyway, that life would climb. Ivy's eyes filled. I don't know you, Ivy whispered. Mara nodded. I know, she whispered, and I won't force you. Ivy's voice trembled. But I dreamed of a face, she said, Sometimes, a face I couldn't place. Mara's breath shook. I did too, she whispered. Ivy looked at Lena, torn. Lena nodded gently, giving her permission to feel whatever came. Ivy stepped forward slowly, like she was approaching a wild animal that might run. Mara opened her arms, not rushing. Ivy hesitated, then collapsed into Mara's embrace with a sob that sounded like years pouring out. Lena covered her mouth, crying quietly. Julian turned away, shoulders shaking, finally letting grief show without donors watching. For a few minutes, the world softened, not healed, but softened. Then the phone rang. Julian's head snapped up. He answered, voice sharp. What? His security chief spoke fast. Julian's face hardened. What? Lena demanded. Julian lowered the phone slowly. Vivian's fixer, he said. He's trying to move her case. He's pressuring witnesses. He's already contacted Nurse Calder. Lena's blood ran cold. Mara's face tightened. I told you, she whispered. The machine. Julian's jaw clenched. Then we end it, he said. How? Lena asked. Julian's eyes turned grim. Public exposure, he said. Full exposure, no more private settlements, no more quiet funerals. We put the tape, the note, the forged paperwork into court. We drag the fixer into light. We strip Vivian of every shield. Mara flinched. If you do that, she whispered, they'll come for me. Julian looked at her, voice steady. Then they come for all of us, he said, and we stand together. Lena stared at him. That was the moral reversal she hadn't expected. The powerful man choosing truth over image, even if it destroyed his empire. But Lena didn't trust the world to reward honesty. She trusted it to punish vulnerability. The next weeks were a war. Julian's lawyers filed motions. Vivian's legal team attacked Lena's character. They called her a kidnapper, a liar, a woman who seduced her way into the Aldridge home. Reporters camped outside Lena's apartment. Ivy stopped going to school temporarily. Homeschooled by a private tutor Julian hired for safety. But Lena knew safety bought by money always came with strings. In court, Vivian appeared with a calm face, hair perfect, eyes cold. She claimed Mara was unstable. She claimed the recording was edited. She claimed Lena stole a child and invented a story to avoid jail. Then Lena stood on the witness stand. She held the necklace in her palm and opened the pendant in front of the court. The note inside, Mara's handwriting, was displayed. Lena's voice shook but didn't break. I didn't take a baby, Lena said. I took a threat seriously. I chose life. Vivian's attorney sneered. So you admit you left the hospital with someone else's child? Lena looked straight at Vivian. I admit I saved her, Lena said. And I admit the people with money tried to erase her. Then the tape was played. Vivian's recorded voice filled the courtroom again, cold as a blade. We keep one, the other disappears. The courtroom murmured. The judge's face hardened. Vivian's mask cracked for the first time. Anger flashed, uncontrolled. And then Mara stood. Mara walked forward, alive in front of cameras, no longer a dead angel in a portrait, but a living woman with testimony. Mara's voice was quiet, but every word landed like a hammer. They drugged me, Mara said. They declared me unstable because I refused to surrender my babies. They locked me away because my grief was inconvenient. Vivian did not protect this family. Vivian enslaved it. The court erupted in shock. Outside, headlines changed in real time. Vivian's fixer was subpoenaed. His financial ties to forged documents were exposed. Accounts showed payments to hospital staff. A trail of hush money leading through years like a dark river. One by one, Vivian's shields fell. The justice payoff didn't come as a dramatic single moment, but as a collapse. Vivian's bail was denied. New charges were filed. Conspiracy, falsification of medical records, unlawful confinement, attempted kidnapping, witness intimidation. Vivian screamed in court, finally losing the composure she used as armor. Julian watched, face tight, not satisfied, because satisfaction wouldn't bring back lost years. But he was no longer blind. And Lena watched Vivian fall and felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in 16 years. Relief, not because her pain was gone, but because the world finally admitted it existed. After the trial, Julian sold the lake house and donated the money to survivors' shelters, quietly, without press. He restructured the Aldridge Foundation to include oversight and protections, publicly naming Lena and Mara in a speech that shocked the city. "For years, I thought power meant control," Julian said. "I learned it means responsibility, and the people I once overlooked save the ones I love." Vivian's name became poison in high society. The friends who once applauded her strength avoided her now like scandal could spread through touch. But the deepest justice wasn't Vivian in a cell. It was two girls playing in a backyard together, arguing over a swing, laughing with the reckless ease children are supposed to have. Amelia and Ivy became each other's shadow. Sometimes they fought like sisters who couldn't believe they had to share air. Sometimes they whispered in bed late at night, trading memories that didn't match but still fit together. One evening, Ivy sat between Lena and Mara on the couch, holding both their hands. "So," Ivy said softly, "I have two moms." Mara's eyes filled with tears. "If you want that," Mara whispered. Ivy nodded. "I do." Amelia leaned on Julian's shoulder, watching, then whispered. "Do I get two moms too?" Lena's throat tightened. Mara reached out and stroked Amelia's hair. "You always did," Mara whispered. "You just didn't know it." Julian watched Lena hesitation in his eyes. "And you," he said quietly, "you didn't just raise Ivy. You kept Mara's promise alive." Lena swallowed. "I kept a child alive," she said. "That's all." Julian shook his head. "No," he said, "you kept the truth alive." Months later, the Aldridge mansion no longer felt like a mausoleum. Julian moved out temporarily, giving Mara space to decide what she wanted, what kind of life she could tolerate after being controlled for so long. Mara didn't rush back into wealth. She didn't rush back into being Mrs. Aldridge. She rebuilt slowly, choosing therapy, choosing sunlight, choosing her daughter's laughter over parties and donors. Lena kept working, but not as a cleaner in other people's homes. Julian funded a small cleaning business in Lena's name, but Lena set the rules. Fair pay, safe conditions, no humiliation, no hidden cameras. One day, Ivy asked Lena, "Are we rich now?" Lena smiled sadly. "We have what we didn't have before," she said. "Safety, truth, and each other." Amelia asked Julian, "Do you still miss Mommy when you look at the necklace?" Julian looked at Mara across the room, alive, helping Ivy with homework, her hair falling forward, like it used to in the portrait. "I miss the years I lost," Julian admitted, "but I'm grateful she's here." That night, Lena sat alone on her balcony, watching the city lights. The necklace rested in her palm. It no longer felt like a burden. It felt like a key that had finally opened the right door. Mara stepped out quietly and sat beside her. "I used to think you saved my daughter," Mara whispered. Lena looked at her. Mara continued, voice soft. "But you saved me too," she said. "Because if Ivy had disappeared completely, I would have died inside that facility, even if my body kept breathing." Lena's eyes filled. "I didn't know you were alive," she whispered. "If I had," Mara shook her head. "You did what you could," she whispered. "And that's why we're here." They sat in silence, the kind that finally felt peaceful. Inside, the twins laughed at something silly on television, their voices overlapping like the universe had stitched itself back together. And in that moment, Lena understood the final truth of it all. The necklace wasn't just proof of a crime. It was proof that love can survive power, that the humble can carry truth longer than the wealthy can hide it, that a child's voice can expose what adults spent years burying, and that sometimes justice doesn't arrive as a perfect ending. Sometimes it arrives as a beginning, a mother returning, a father changing, a villain finally unmasked, two sisters finally sharing the same air, and a woman who was once invisible standing in the center of her own life, no longer cleaning other people's messes in silence, but watching her family heal in the open. Because in the end, the richest thing in that mansion was never money. It was the truth that refused to disappear.